All right, welcome back. Another episode of the Empty Gym podcast. Here with Adam Pollard today. Um, got some conference realignment, got some FIBA and FIFA World Cups, two World Cups going on right now. Well, one not yet started yet, but some exhibitions for it. Baseball getting close to looking at the pennant races and stuff like that, and just some other news and notes around sports. I guess start off with the big thing in college sports. This is a college basketball podcast. Uh, so the big thing in college sports right now, conference realignment. A lot of the things we talked about last week are finally official. Um, Starting with the Big 12, taking Arizona State, and Utah. I feel like it was fairly obvious that it wasn't just going to be Colorado leaving and have an odd number of teams. So now it is official that Arizona State, and Utah will be going next year. Big Ten takes Oregon and Washington, and now the Pac-12 is down to a Pac-4.
Yeah, it's like we said last episode where Colorado was that first domino to fall, and now the Conference of Champions is just I don't know even what it is. It's just kind of four teams right now. But yeah, so like you said, it was pretty obvious that all this stuff was going to happen. Um, I actually think that one of the biggest winners, I guess, out of this whole thing is the Big 12. They beefed up a lot. I
Yeah,
feel like there's some great matchups coming, whether that's football or basketball, for the Big 12.
yeah. I think the Big 12. It kind of looked like it was going to be a race between the Big 12 and the ACC of who's going to be like that third conference. Uh, and like it seemed as though there wasn't going to be enough room for all four of them. Like the fourth one will still exist, that being the ACC now looks like it was still going to exist, but there was obviously going to be a drop off, and it was kind of like who's going to beef up more, the Pac or the Big 12 or the ACC, and the Big 12 definitely did, especially from a basketball standpoint. The Big 12, I feel like, kind of went all in a little bit on being a basketball conference. Uh, and it's like some of the matchups there now with Arizona joining, uh, especially Arizona,
We get Kansas and Arizona twice a year.
that's that's going to be awesome. Arizona State always kind of pops in and out of being like a top 25 level team to like a solid team every once in a while. And then obviously that Bobby Hurley,
They're
Bobby
great for like playing game first 4-11 seed.
is Bobby's at Arizona State, right? And
Correct.
Danny's at UConn. I should know the coach of the national champions, but I get the brothers confused. But yeah, Bobby Hurley out in Arizona State. Uh, Not to get on an Arizona State tangent, but I'm going to for a second. Arizona State's one of the weirdest teams in college basketball every year. Like you said, I feel
Yeah.
like they're always like they have so much talent and they look so good for so long, and then they just go through a terrible stretch like every year and end up like in the first four.
It is really weird. Yeah.
But yeah, they're in the Big 12.
They're in the Big 12 now.
And Utah kind of beefs up the football side a little bit. People forget Utah back-to-back Rose Bowl appearances.
Great
Uh,
football school. The atmosphere of Utah football games is something to watch.
Yeah. So yeah, Big 12, like you said, beefed up. Uh, it kind of saved them a little bit. The commissioner was the guy from Rock Nation that just came on like last summer or the year before, something like that. He kind of got them back up in like that third conference level, and now the ACC is kind of trying to come back, and I saw that they were in talks with Cal and Stanford, um, which is just absolutely wild. But
Yeah, so I guess now that you brought that up, I did also see that the ACC was interested in SMU. I think the commissioner or like the board was talking about They had like two scenarios that they were looking at, and that would be either having Stanford and Cal join the ACC, or the other scenario would be Stanford, Cal, and SMU. So I think if the ACC is they're gonna go for any of these teams, they're gonna want the package deal of at least Stanford and Cal. They're not just gonna go for one. But the Stanford thing's kind of interesting because there has been some questions being thrown around of maybe Stanford just going independent, like um, like Notre Dame. So that's something that is very possible. I mean, I don't think anything's out the window with what's all going on. So yeah, the ACC, it's almost like the Big Ten had its turn. I mean, I think they're still in there, but each kind of conference has had their moments, and I think the ACC has been sitting there for so long because I believe they're in a really bad deal with something they're trying to get out of. I think it's like
The ACC,
yeah.
yeah,
So I think it's
the
like the
grant of
ACC's
rights.
turned. It's the ACC's turn to go out and make the moves. Um, so yeah, it's something that's only going to get more interesting as it progresses.
Yeah, the ACC. What would have that been? Was it 2016? I think they signed this new grant of rights. Maybe even like 2011. Maybe it was a 25-year deal or something like that. I can't remember, but they signed what appeared to be one of the best deals in television and like sports for like one of the best television deals in sports, and were locked in for a long time. It was like ACC is going to be stable, uh, and then Big 12 or the Big 10 contract comes up, SEC contract comes up, and ESPN throws a billions of dollars at the SEC, and then Fox throws billions of dollars at the Big 10, and now the ACC looks dumb for taking that deal from ESPN 5, 10 years ago, whatever it is now. And now the ACC is kind of stuck. I did hear, excuse me. I did hear that there is like a clause in the contract or something that if at least 8 of the teams say that they're leaving, then the conference can then they can leave the conference. But like an individual team has to pay like millions upon millions, like I think like hundreds of millions of dollars for an exit fee to get out of the conference. Uh, so it's like it's all about getting 8 teams to agree to leave. And honestly, I don't know if you're going to get 8 teams because it's like FSU and Clemson want to leave because they know the SEC would pick them up. Any other comp or any other team like North Carolina can probably get into a good conference because they have really good basketball and good enough football. Like even Duke is a team that is like to talk about your Duke Blue Devils. One of the best basketball programs in the country, probably like a top 5 basketball program in the country. The basketball creates a lot of revenue, but it doesn't create nearly as much as football. And so the lack of football hurts Duke there because then I don't think they want to leave the ACC because the ACC is guaranteed money. And right now, I don't know who, like maybe the Big 12 will pick them up because they're kind of going into this like basketball conference more so than football. Uh, but like Boston College, they're not going to leave because who's going to pick them up? Wake Forest, they're not going to leave. Uh, Virginia Tech, they're not going to leave. UVA could probably sneak into a conference. Their football's good enough sometimes. But it's just like you have all these teams that are really good basketball programs, uh, but not good enough football programs. So like they're scared that no one's going to want to pick them up. So now Florida State and Clemson are like trying to get other teams and other programs to uh, join with them in this leaving so that they can get out of there without an exit fee. But I don't think you're going to have anyone that wants to do it. So now FSU and Clemson got to come up with like hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of this conference and get to the SEC. And it just kind of like the ACC now is in a position where they got to figure out what they want to do to get teams back in. So it's just like I guess what I'm saying is it's just kind of a shit show right now, and like
It sucks. It does suck.
Just like no one knows what to do. That if you're not in the Big Ten or the SEC or the Big 12, you really don't know what to do right now. And it's all kind of like like you said, we talked last week about the Colorado being the first domino. I feel like now we're in another stage of and then that dropped all these dominoes over the past week of Arizona State, Utah, Oregon, Washington. Now we're kind of set for now. I feel like I think I can't imagine there'll be anything more this summer with anyone except the Pac-12, like those 4 teams in the Pac-12 that are still left. They got to figure something out, obviously, really quickly. But I don't know. It's crazy. And then I guess one question that I want to ask you is what do you think the Pac-12 is going to do from here?
So yeah, I was actually going to bring that up. I will respond to your question with another question. How about that? Should the Pac-12 remaining 4 teams, if you want to even say it's the Pac-12, so Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State, do they just merge with the Mountain West, and then the Mountain West becomes the Pac-12 in a way, and then Gonzaga can finally say they play in a Power 5 conference. So that's something that's always interesting. But yeah, that's been thrown around, and I don't think it's like that crazy to say that it's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen like super, super soon. But yeah, because what's it, 2024, 2025, all this stuff is going to be moved.
Yeah, so starting next year, Oregon, I guess if things stayed the same right now, it's a 4-team conference for the Pac-12.
So yeah, does the Mountain West go in there and the Pac-12 or the Pac-4? Do they go in like, do you guys want to become members of the Pac-12? And then they have all those Mountain West teams, and they go from there.
And the thing that I'm thinking too is that, like the Pac-12 or the Pac-4 or whatever you want to call it, has no leverage right now either. So it's like, honestly, like I would, if the Pac-12, like if the Pac whatever number it ends up being is going to remain a conference, I think they have to take. This was my idea of keeping the Pac-12 together. At least maintaining it as a conference, because like I said, I don't think they have any leverage, but I think you got to take some teams from the Mountain West and some teams from like the AAC or something like that, like the American Athletic Conference, because I think right now if you say to the Mountain West schools like join the Pac-12, they're going to be like no, like
yeah, why?
We honestly probably get a better TV deal than you do right now. So why don't you just join us? And so it's like, if Cal and Stanford go to the ACC, then I think Oregon State and Washington State have to just go to the Mountain West and have to accept it. I think the only way that they can keep this all together is Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State stay in the Pac-12, and then you got to take some teams from the Mountain West and some teams from like I said, like the AAC or something like that. Because I think right now, if the Pac-12 officials went to all these Mountain West schools and were like let's just merge and it can be the Pac-16 or whatever, I think the Mountain West schools are going to be like, no, like why don't you come here and be in the Mountain West? Because the Mountain West honestly has probably a better reputation than the Pac-12.
Honestly, yeah.
So it's just like,
yeah, the Pac-12 is definitely bleeding.
It's all about who the first, like what the first domino is. Like,
yeah,
can the Pac-12 get someone to join? Get multiple teams? Like, I think they got to get at least 4. If you can have an 18 conference, it's not great, but
it's doable though.
It's something. And like, I guess that'd be like a 7-game conference schedule for football and 14 for basketball. Like I said, not great, but if you can get 4 teams to come in, then I think you can convince another 1 or 2 to also come in and at least get up to 10 or something like that. But
And
it's just
I
like,
think another one of these things that this whole realignment affects is recruiting, um, especially for sports that are not football and basketball, like um, volleyball or some sport like that, where you are somebody who wants to play around your hometown and play in a conference where you are playing teams that are near you.
your family
Um,
can watch.
your family can come and watch. I think like the hypothetical is being thrown around. I mean, it's not really hypothetical; it's a thing now. If you're an Oregon State softball player and your family is not going to go drive to or fly out to watch them play at Indiana, like that's tough.
Yeah.
It's so yeah, it does suck for the other sports but then again, it's all it's like I said last podcast, it's all just about money. It's the student athlete is all these conferences say, oh, we're doing this all for the student athletes, student athletes. It's all about the money, and there's no other way to get around it.
That's why I wasn't like a huge fan of the portal. I get it, but I'm not a huge fan. NIL I do like because I think I'm not a big fan of like pay to play. Like I don't want like the NCAA or these institutions
It's more
paying.
free agency now.
Yeah, like I don't want them like paying the players
Hmm.
to play. But I think like any player should be able to if they're good enough. Because I think the biggest issue also, like, not to change this into an NIL discussion, but the biggest issue with that also in like a pay to play, like say Illinois got to pay every basketball player, every softball player, every swimmer and diver. Like, how do you balance? Like, it's just like it would be a crapshoot of like how do you justify paying Terrence Shannon Jr. this much money and paying the fifth best swimmer on the team this much money when it's like, oh, we're all putting in the same work
Yeah.
and everything like that. It's not like so that's just like something, and then Title IX gets involved, and that's just not something that you want to have to deal with at all. So I think like having NIL where people make their own brand deals, obviously like the NIL is not going exactly how I think NCAA officials thought it would, as it's kind of turned into like pay to play a little bit in a sense, like kind of these deals being made as a like enticement for recruiting instead of kind of like a kid going like committing to wherever to play football, and then he talks to the local car dealership after he's enrolled and after he's playing, and then gets that car dealership uh, sponsorship advertisement or whatever, and then gets the money from that. It's kind of turned into, all right, you're gonna get this. We already got them all signed on for it. So like obviously not going exactly how it would be, but it's like when you have the NIL and you have people that can like create brand deals and stuff like that based off of their performance, I feel like that's a good thing. But like I guess to get back on topic, I kind of went on a little tangent there. But get back on topic, I think now that the players have this NIL in the transfer portal, it's a really good thing they do because if you're talking about if you're complaining that the like the players and stuff are showing no loyalty and just going to chase the biggest money grab that they can get, all these academic institutions are doing the exact same thing. Like jump into the Big Ten, jump into the Big 12, jump to the SEC just to make more money. And that's what all these conferences are doing too. It's just a money grab, and like they're not worried about the athletes at all. So like at least they're getting to be paid now because if it was back like 5 years ago, if all this exact same stuff was happening 5 years ago, and you're trying to say that you have the student athlete's best interest in mind when you're making, like you said, the Oregon softball player fly out to Piscataway for a weekend series at Rutgers, and then they have to fly commercial back on Sunday night at like 9 at night, get back home at like 3 in the morning, and then have to go to class the next day. Like it's just bullshit. Like you're not doing it in the best interest of the student athlete. So that kind of turned into a rant where I didn't know where I was going with it, but basically,
Good content though.
basically, it could be an Instagram reel someday. More on that to come in the future, but basically, it's just like at least the student athletes can get paid because these conferences are just not putting their best interest in mind, which leads me to my next point. My next question for you also. What do you think college athletics will look like in 2050? Because I have an idea.
I don't even know.
I think it's not going to change a ton in the next like 2 to 3 years, and like I don't know. Like I think it's going to go. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I have my idea for like 20 years from now that hopefully it ends up like this because I think this would be the best situation.
I think because I mean, this is more of like what I hope it becomes. But I think I said something about this last episode where I think, and like I said, I think this is more of a not necessarily I think, but it's more of an I hope. That I'm hopeful that this happens is that all this is going to happen. You know, you'll have all these big conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC. They all build up these teams, the Big 12, and then they realize, you know, some schools are feeling left out here. You know, we're in this big conference, but we're not, you know, the highlight of it. All this stuff, and they go, okay, let's go and branch out, and then it kind of funnels all its way back to how it started. That is, I guess, what I hope happens, because there is something about just maybe this is more being a fan, and it definitely is, but like just the rivalries and just like the the closeness of the schools. Like I think the Duke UNC rivalry, if they somehow split up, like it's just not going to be the same, and that's even though I'm a Duke fan and everything. But if you don't see that rivalry, or they play a non-conference game, it's going to be so different, and that's just something as a sports fan that I just love watching, and think might miss out on that a little bit.
Yeah, mine's similar. But I think, like I hope that happens as well. But what I think is going to happen is I think you'll never be able to get football to agree to that, and so because and football can manage the travel too. It's probably the only sport that can because it's once a week on the weekend. So it's like teams are like road games now. People like the teams are missing. The players are missing their Friday classes anyways. Like that just happened. Like it's written in or not written in, I guess, but like it's kind of understood that like all these guys they always fly out or drive out or bus out on Friday, go to the game, play the game on Saturday, fly back Saturday night. Unless it's a night game, sometimes they'll wait and leave till Sunday morning, but they're only missing one day of class. Now for like basketball, if you're going out to USC, like if, say like again using like Rutgers has to go play Oregon on a Tuesday night, like you're probably missing 3 days of class because you're
at minimum
you're flying out. Say you play on Tuesday night, you're flying out Monday, missing your classes on Monday. You play on Tuesday, miss those classes, then you fly back Wednesday, and by the time you get back from Eugene, it's like probably like 9 in the morning on Wednesday, and I don't think they're gonna make them play or go to class that. At least I hope not. Like I'm all for student athletes actually going to class, and obviously, but like I don't think you can make a kid go to class after he just got in on a flight at 7 or 8 in the morning, because like you got the huge time zone difference. You got 6 7 hour flights across the country. Like it's just like teams are gonna get back home, and because like right now, like when I went, I'll use a real life example here. I went to DePaul for a trip for Butler, and we didn't get back until it was a Tuesday night game. We played at 8 o'clock Central. Game ended at 10. Finally, like, got on the bus and everything at 11, and then lose an hour coming back from Chicago to Indianapolis. We didn't get back on campus till 3, and so like then you have like a 9 a.m. class or something like that. Like by the time you get back to your room and everything, then you're getting like 4 hours of sleep max if you can fall asleep right away. But it's just like that's a 3-hour bus trip. Like I don't know what you're gonna do when you got to fly from Seattle
Literally across the country.
all the way to Rutgers or to Penn State or to Maryland or even just to like Indiana or Ohio State or something like that. That's still like a 4 or 5 hour flight. When you're going all the way across country, that's like 7 or 8. So it's just like it's not feasible for all these non-revenue sports. So I get I'm been going on a lot of tangents today and getting kind of off topic, but what I'm trying to say is like I think college football is going to break away from the NCAA and kind of create their own super conference thing of like the Power Five and have it be like a very NFL style league with like I think the regional divisions will still be a thing. It probably won't be the exact same conferences it is now. And then the non-revenue sports, including I'd say basketball is a revenue sport. Baseball in the South can be a revenue sport. Every other sport does not generate profits and generate revenue. That's just simply a fact. Like baseball in the South, some of those schools are in the black, but most of them, especially up north, are all in the red. And it's like football and men's basketball are the only two sports that are making you money, and you're just spending the rest of that money on other sports for them to be able to do stuff. And like my solution obviously is not to cut those sports. Like I don't think that those should be cut, but I think you should separate those out and put those back into like the regular conferences that we were in now before all this stuff happened, and have like the Big Ten pack and the ACC and the Pac-12 and the Big 12 and the SEC, and have those normal conferences for all these non-revenue sports. Because I just think it's not feasible for all these like swimming and soccer and tennis and track and field, like all those sports can't maintain this travel schedule like football can, because it's like I said, it's just once a week. So I think that's what will end up happening eventually, but I really don't know.
Yeah, there's really no correct answer to any of these questions. It's all, money. It's not up to any of the fans. It's not really in the best interest of most people, I should say.
It's all about money. All about money. Any last that went like 30 minutes. Wow.
We did think it was gonna take a long time, but I don't have any more realignment thoughts until the next domino falls.
Yeah. Which
who knows when that is? Could be in about 40 minutes.
It's got to be. It's got to be soon. Like I don't think if you're Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, and Stanford, you want to go into the football season not knowing what conference you're going to be in next year, or at least not having the Pac-12 be stable. Like I think the Pac-12's got to do something right now to save this conference. Or else, like if I'm Oregon, like I said, if I'm one of those 4 schools, I mean, hell, Cal might just quit athletics, honestly, or like quit football. I'm sure they're not making a whole lot of money. They're probably making a lot more money from school and all the research they do and stuff like that than they're making from football. But I don't know. If something's going to happen, it's got to happen quick, or else I think those 4 teams or those 4 programs are just kind of going to freak out. Because why wouldn't you?
They're just left in the dust.
Yeah, you got to figure out something quick, but I don't know. Guess we can move on to FIFA Women's World Cup. We lost. We're out. We're out. Penalty kicks. I guess one thing that I want to say is like, how do we have the technology? Then we can get to the game after. Like the little of the game that I woke up with in the 104th minute to watch the rest of this whatever the soccer game. But how do we have the technology in soccer to be able to tell that a penalty kick is a goal by literally a millimeter, and tennis has the technology to determine if a ball is in or out by a millimeter, but football, when it's a goal line or a first down, we're just taking a wild guess or something like that.
Bring out the chains.
Bringing out 60-year-old men, bring out the chains. And
so here's my thing on that. I almost kind of I get the whole, people who want to say let's put a chip in the football and see if it breaks the point or not. I almost kind of especially more, obviously more for first down and stuff like that. But there's just something that about when they bring out the chains and you see if that ball is short or not. It's just a part of the game at this point.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. And then you see all the players, putting their hands forward, or the defense is jumping around. Yeah, I don't know. It's it seems like it should have happened by now, but I don't know. I really don't have an answer for you.
Yeah,
I wish I did.
I don't know. I just thought it was that that's all I could think about when I saw that, and I was looking at the VAR, and I also, like I said, I turned this on about 15 minutes. This happened 15 minutes after I woke up, so I was very groggy and looking at it how do they know? How do they know that, and why can't we do that in football? But I guess back to the game, we did lose on a penalty kick that crossed by about a millimeter. Megan Rapinoe sucked. She missed her penalty kick by so bad, just so badly.
Terrible.
But yeah, we
were number one going
Portugal.
into this. We did tie Portugal.
And then who else did we
tied? Netherlands.
Netherlands.
And then we beat Vietnam.
And I feel like Sweden's always solid, I think.
So I'm not too educated on the rankings and status of international women's soccer, but one thing I do know is that the U.S. women's national team is very, very good, and that we were number one going into this. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot behind it. I think more than just soccer too, at this point.
Yeah, I feel like both of our soccer teams, our men's and women's, I think the men's is looking brighter. What are we in, the golden generation?
We are in the golden generation right now.
Is that what we're calling it?
It is, and I do think that's very true. But not to get on the side tangent of that.
At least that's coming up. But even in the last World Cup, what was it? The Reina guy, I think.
Yeah, Gio.
It was just like something was going on with his dad and the coach or something, hated each other, and then Gio wasn't playing, and then now there's all these rumors and stuff swirling about the women's team, the chemistry was terrible or something like that, and it's just what's going on with our soccer teams?
That's a great question. Once again, I wish I had an answer for you. But yeah, we did lose. Megan Rapinoe seemed to be happy after she's got a penalty that landed in the 54th row of the stadium.
Yeah, I think there was a quote of her that said I don't know how I missed that, and I'm it'd be one thing if it was it hit the crossbar and didn't go down and went up or something like that, or hit a post and shot out instead of going shooting in. It's just I know how you missed it. It was 20 feet over the bar.
As a former soccer player, there's pretty much one thing that you cannot do when you take a penalty kick, and that is miss the whole frame of the goal. That's just the one thing where you messed up if you missed the whole entire frame.
If you at least hit the post and it spins out instead of spins in or something like that, it's just you know what, you had to go on the edge or something like that. Like, I get it's very minuscule. And, like, if you miss it by, like, a little bit, that's one thing. But it's like she, like, just skied that over and was laughing about it. I'm just like, you just cost us World Cup, potentially.
Potentially.
Who knows? I mean, this team was not winning the World Cup, I feel like.
No, with the way they were playing, and the results they were having, I don't think they were going to win it. I did read some things where it was like I did not watch any of the games. I didn't ever see them on TV, and is in New Zealand, right? So it's time zones are crazy. But I guess defensively we played very well, so a lot of ties. But I guess offensively because they couldn't get anything going. But I get sometimes it's just soccer, it's sports. Some things don't go your way.
So you're a soccer guy, right?
I'm a soccer guy.
Do we care more about the Olympics or the World Cup, or is like it even, or
World Cup, 100%.
World Cup more?
Yeah. The
Okay.
Olympics, that you don't normally bring your heavy hitters anyway.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I would have thought like you'd at least bring the same team, but like if you don't win the Olympics, like it's not as big of a deal. Like I thought that the World Cup mattered a little bit more, but I was like,
Yeah, the World Cup is 1,000% more important.
because that's like because I think Olympics you still can't win money for the Olympics. I think I think because all I remember is that like the Olympics was uh like when the NIL stuff was happening, to get back on that, it was like the Olympic style, where like the Olympics doesn't pay the players.
They pay the program.
Yeah, but like the players can make their own uh, brand deals and
Yeah, like side deals that aren't
stuff like that.
affiliated with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know actually. That's a good question. I'm not too sure.
But I think the World Cup does pay both the players and the program.
Probably there's a lot of money in
Or
the World
maybe like
Cups.
they pay the
Yeah.
program and the program disperses it to the players or something like that. Like I don't know how it works, but yeah. So I guess Olympics we don't really care. Like we care, but we don't for soccer.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So now we got the World Cup in 3 years. That's what we're looking forward to now.
2026, yes.
Quick talking soccer. What are our thoughts on our chances there?
I love our chances.
And this one's in America, right?
This one is in North America, yes.
U.S., Canada, and Mexico.
I believe to rattle off a couple U.S. cities, I think Boston, Philly, Miami, Houston, Kansas City, Seattle, maybe. I think Dallas might be in there as well.
I remember that Chicago didn't get it.
Chicago did not. No, but I will definitely be going to one of the games or a couple games, and I think I have my mind set on going to Boston to go watch some soccer.
Love it. 2026.
2026. It actually will. It'll depend on where the U.S. is playing too.
Yeah. If they put us in a game in Canada, dude, that would piss me off.
I doubt that'll happen, but yeah, it would piss me off.
That I could see FIFA doing that to us.
Yeah.
It's like we finally host a World Cup.
Oh, L.A. too. Sorry, L.A. Yeah.
We finally host a World Cup, and then we have to play one of our 3 pool games. Like, imagine like we played Canada, like Canada's in our group, and we had to play Canada in Canada. It's just like,
Or it's U.S., Canada, and Mexico City.
if we had to play Mexico in Mexico City in group play, or even if that was our like
Knockout stage or something like that.
Yeah, if our round of 16 game we get paired with Mexico and have to play in Mexico City, that's just like I'm ready to go on my FIFA rant now already.
Boycott FIFA.
I'm preparing my rant for 3 years from now. Switching to another World Cup, the FIBA World Cup is about to start.
That is FIBA with a B.
Yes, FIBA. We beat Puerto Rico in one of our exhibition games. I believe that was Monday night.
Yep.
117 to 74. I did have some thoughts. I had halftime thoughts that I shared with friends. My halftime thoughts were fast. We were rebounding good. We're not bad shooters. It's the FIBA ball. The FIBA ball is dumb.
Hang on. Before you keep talking, I'm a huge fan of the FIBA ball.
I think it looks cool.
I feel like I've never actually been able to play with one, but I want to so bad because I feel like I don't know. I just feel like I wouldn't miss with it. I mean that's very hot take, but I just feel like the way it looks and the way it would feel in my hands and the way I would be able to watch it, just through the air, going through the net. I don't think it'd get old. I would love it.
I will say Butler went on a foreign tour last summer to Greece and Italy. I think I didn't get to go on the trip. But I was there for the practices before the trip in beautiful Indianapolis. Some would say the Rome of Indiana. But I got to mess around with the FIBA ball sometimes because we got some of them before our practices. And I hated it. It was the worst. I thought I was gonna love it so much. Like I was so excited to shoot with.
And that could be very well true that I could not like it when I get it, but just watching it and looking at it, I would just love to have that.
I was the same way. I was like, this is gonna be awesome. Like I'm so excited to shoot with this FIBA ball after practice and just like hang out and hinkle for like an hour and just shoot by myself with a FIBA ball. And then I took like 3 shots with it and I like threw it at the bleachers and I was like, I hate this basketball. And it's probably mostly because I'm just not a good shooter anymore. That was like the only thing I was half decent at in high school, but now it's not high school anymore. And I go to basketball practice every day, but I don't actually shoot a basketball every day. I'm mostly rebounding and passing them.
Great rebounder now.
You can ask John Diebler about that. I don't know how great of a rebounder I am. I feel like once every 2 weeks I really have a good rebounding day, but they're few and far between. But yeah,
you block out the imaginary guy.
There was one day.
Trying to get a roster spot.
There was one day. It was like shoot around before a game, and John Diebler, the infamous John Diebler, which we're still trying to get on the podcast.
Shout out John Diebler.
Fuck John Diebler. He was like yelling at me. He's like, "You're not rebounding at all." Like, cause like the ball would like bounce like right next to me, and like I'd make like the freshman kids get it. And I was just like, or like it would like bounce over my head, and like I was by far the closest to it, and I'd be like, "Oh, go get it, go get it."
You're good at delegating.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very good at delegating. So he started yelling at me. He's like, "You're not rebounding." So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna rebound." And I think in that minute 30, I rebounded all but one of the misses, and I was just like sprinting around, and I had to sit for like 5 minutes after that because I was so tired. But so there's Butler basketball story time with you. Back to USA Puerto Rico. So yeah, we shot 6 of 27 from 3. Not great, but we out rebounded them. I'm looking at these stats for the first time right now. Like I knew we rebounded well, which was in my halftime thoughts, but did not realize we out rebounded them 66 to 31. Let's see who played good. I watched the game, so
Jalen Brunson double.
Yeah, we had a lot of guys. Like no guys really like necessarily, I guess, stood out from the rest. Like most guys were around like 11 to 15 points. But yeah, Jalen Brunson double. Tyrese Halliburton 12 assists. Did not realize that. I knew he had some. I didn't realize he had 12. Josh Hart didn't play. He had a rest day. But yeah, I think we can be good. Obviously, it's Puerto Rico, and I mean it's not the biggest competition in the world.
I like this team though.
Yeah, we got Slovenia on Saturday. And Luka is playing as well, which is a little scary.
I
But
think Luka might drop 35 and 17 on us.
and we'll still win.
I think we'll win, but I think Luka will drop a crazy triple double on us or something.
Yeah. So we got the rest of our they're calling it the USA Basketball Showcase. It's like all these exhibitions. So we had the one in Vegas on Monday against Puerto Rico. Now they're going over to Spain. So we got Slovenia on Saturday, and then Spain on Sunday. And then next week we play Greece and Germany in Abu Dhabi. And then we are in Group C. So the FIBA World Cup is in the Philippines.
Who's in our group?
We are playing New Zealand, Greece. So the Greece exhibition game will actually be kind of important to watch.
Yeah.
As kind of a test. But yeah, New Zealand, Greece, and Jordan. So I think we should be able to get out of that group. We were kind of talking about this before. The World Cup, you never see that many big names playing it. I was looking this up. I can bring up the 2019 team. Here it is. So our 2019 roster was Derek White when he was with the Spurs, before he was even with the Celtics and got kind of good. Donovan Mitchell was pretty good back then. I mean, he's still good now, but he was good then. Joe Harris, Marcus Smart, Harrison Barnes, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum kind of as they were starting to break out a little bit. I think Jason Tatum would be going into his third year that year, and Jaylen Brown going into his fourth, so kind of like right before they turned into superstars. Mason Plumlee, Miles Turner, Brooke Lopez, Chris Middleton, kind of before he got really good, like when he was solid but not great, and then Kemba, which just kind of shows you like this is all kind of like B tier NBA guys. Like it's never going to be the cream of the crop by any means, but
I really like this team though.
Yeah, I think this team can be good.
I think because there's a lot of guys, not necessarily with a chip on their shoulder, but guys that like you said, aren't like the superstars of the NBA, which we very well could bring. But like guys like Mikal Bridges, I love Mikal Bridges. I think he's like very, very underrated and a very good player. Same with like Cam Johnson, Jaren Jackson Jr. Anthony Edwards is great, but he's more going into that superstar role-ish, I would say. And then guys like Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, Banchero, which I love to see Banchero on that roster. Like guys like Walker Kessler too. I thought that's a very good bench backup center to have for the World Cup team.
Yeah, it's like I said, kind of like these B level guys. You're never gonna get the A level guys for the World Cup, because the World Cup for basketball means literally nothing. Like it's kind of inverse of soccer, where the Olympics actually means. I mean, even the Olympics, like I feel like we're not even taking our best guys there anymore, like we used to, which is very frustrating because like all these other superstars, like these international superstars, are all playing for their teams unless they're hurt, pretty much. But I feel like even something like the NBA teams aren't even like letting some of these guys play in these like international tournaments, which like I get it, you're investing a lot of money into them, but at the same time it's like these guys want to play in these tournaments and you're not letting
absolutely.
If they're hurt, like if they got hurt at the end of the year and they can rush back and come into this tournament if they want, but it's probably not a great idea. I completely understand that. But if a guy's like fully healthy, I think Paul George, honestly, because was that World Cup prelims too, I think. I don't think that was Olympics.
Yeah, it was like an exhibition game, the one where he broke his leg.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah,
was
I don't
an
know when that
exhibition for
was.
a World Cup, not a Olympics. So I think that probably played a huge role into it of
Definitely.
people being so worried about it now. Because like Kobe used to play in it every year. LeBron used to play in it every year. D Wade, like
Kevin Durant.
we used to take over like really, really, and like not to say the teams that were taking over probably shouldn't still win gold. Uh, but USA basketball is not what it used to be.
The
Uh,
gap between the U.S. basketball and the rest of the
yeah,
world
I feel like
is
it's a combination of the like you said, the gap between the rest of the world and the U.S. is closing rapidly. Like there's a lot of international guys who are very good.
Oh, yeah, I mean, look
There's
at the league right now. Like a lot of, I mean, I'd probably say, like, I mean, off the top of my head, I don't really know. I could be forgetting guys, but I mean, you have guys like international guys, Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, Luka. I'm definitely forgetting some, but like those are definitely top 10 players in the league,
yeah,
and they're international. So the gap has closed very much
yeah.
since like the Dream Team era.
The thing that's helping us is they're still struggling to put like full teams together,
Yes.
but now they're starting to have like
Hmm.
almost every one of these countries has like a top 25 level NBA player. Uh, and then like some like NBA like fifth or sixth man around them as well that can create a solid team. It's just like kind of the depth that they have issue with where we still don't really. But when you combine that with the fact that we're not sending over our best guys like they are, uh, like USA basketball has definitely struggled because of that. Like I know the 2019 World Cup we got like third, I think, which like any other sport, like if we get third, it's like, all right, we did pretty solid. Like didn't win obviously, but still did good. For
It's best.
basketball, we should win no matter what.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that kind of turned into more of a USA basketball conversation. But it's obviously also we're a basketball podcast. We love basketball, so if there's basketball on, we're gonna watch it and we're gonna talk about it. But yeah, I'm really excited for this FIBA World Cup. Also because it's in the Philippines, but they gave us. It's kind of the same as the New Zealand a little bit. It kind of sucks for you being in Arizona, but for me, like I think all the games are at like 8 o'clock in the morning my time, except for one's at like 3 or 4. So that one might work a little bit better for you staying up late. But for me, I just got to wake up early a couple times.
Yeah.
Really, not even that early, but uh, it'll be nice, kind of like start my day with some Team USA
With some
basketball.
hoops. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm excited for this World Cup. Excited to see how we do. Hopefully we win. But yeah, um, baseball.
Before we get to that, I have one more thing on this
Oh yeah, go
USA.
ahead. Go ahead.
So you have the Trey Young dilemma that's going
Oh
on
yeah, yeah,
with this whole how if because no one knows if he was asked to play on the roster, but I feel like Trey Young definitely deserves a spot on this team. I mean, he could very well start on this team, and he could very well be the top three guy. Um, so yeah, there's really no one knows if it's true if he was asked or not. But there's rumors of this something being with his Nike deal. I don't know what exactly portrays to that, but I did read some things on that, but I don't know exactly why with this whole Nike deal, um, what the deal is with that. But I do have a quote from Gilbert Arenas that is pretty funny when he was asked about the Trae Young situation and the roster in general, and he said, "quote You see that list they got? Sorry ass group." And then he said, "I'm sorry. I'm happy for people who made it." So basically, he was throwing shade at USA Basketball, saying, "Why did you not ask Trae Young to be on your team?"
Anytime you give me a Gilbert Arenas quote, I'm excited to hear it. So,
Yeah,
um,
he's great.
he's a great quote. But
So yeah,
but yeah, kind of going
it's
back
something.
to it,
It's
like
interesting because there could be more behind it. But like I said, I think Trae Young very well deserves a spot on this team.
yeah, just kind of like we've said before, like going back to it, like other people influencing why some of these athletes can't represent their country. Which I think part of it is that like basketball, obviously football's not in the Olympics, but like basketball, baseball, and hockey are like the only three Olympic sports where uh, the professional sport itself is probably bigger than the Olympics. Every other sport in the Olympics, I feel like I probably am missing something, but almost every other sport in the Olympics, like the biggest thing is the Olympics. Like I'm sure like Michael Phelps in the professional swimming league or whatever does not really care that much about it. Like obviously I know there's like world championships that are uh outside of the Olympics and stuff like that, but like for almost all these other sports, the Olympics is far bigger than the professional version of what like the professional league or whatever they're playing in. Where basketball is kind of hurt because the professional league is so much bigger and all the money into it that like people like owners and GMs and shoe execs and shoe company execs are not wanting their guys to play in what they view as much more like meaningless, I guess, than the millions of dollars they invest into these guys for their professional careers. So it makes sense
right.
financially, but it sucks because you
It
don't
does.
get to see the best players.
Yeah.
Basically, sports just suck because of money. So the sports that we know are all getting ruined because of money.
That is very true.
So we're just kind of trying to hang on and hopefully it stays at least somewhat the same until I hit the pearly gates and then after that you can ruin sports if you want, but and until I die I want the Big Ten to be 11 teams, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think people are going to play in the Olympics, but that kind of got dark for a second, but I'm just like sports money is ruining sports basically for all sports.
It's very true.
Yeah. Baseball.
Baseball.
The Cubs are good. I'm excited about that. The Cubs last night won. We were recording this on Wednesday afternoon. They won last night. The Brewers and the Reds both lost. And now the Cubs are in the playoffs, technically, in that third wild card spot, and only a game and a half out of the division. So the Cubs are doing exactly what I asked of them, which is get me to football season with me being interested in watching every night. And they got 2 weeks
Shout
left.
out Cubs.
They got 2 weeks left to do that. Just don't go on a terrible turn, and just give me. Obviously, I want them to make the playoffs, and I want them to do well. But the main thing I ask of the Cubs every year is just get me to the start of college football and have me still interested in you. And they've done that, and now we're in a pennant race.
Yeah, the Cubs are good. Bellinger is starting to play like his 2019 MVP.
I think so, yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
Some year he was the MVP.
Some year Cody Bellinger won the MVP.
There was this one year, man.
There
let
was
me
this
tell
one
you.
year, let me tell you. I believe it's 2019, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, Cubs are good. They took, I think, advantage of the deadline, and I think the people that they brought in are producing very well and are fitting very well.
Candelario has been red hot since he came over, which is huge. We have the easiest schedule in the National League the rest of the way, and last week we played 4 against the Reds and 3 against the Braves, and I was like, get me out of this week 3 and 4, and I am happy as a clam. And we came out of it 5-2, and lost the first game against the Reds, won the next 3. Lost the first game against the Braves, best team in baseball, won the next 2. Won the series in both. Lost the first game against the Mets on Monday, won last night. Hoping this can be a trend. I will give up the first game of every series if I have to, as long as we win the series. Uh, but yeah, I'm excited. We got through our tough part of our schedule. Had a tough week against 2 first-place teams. Got out of it 5-2. Now we got the Mets. We got the Blue Jays this weekend, which will be kind of tough. The AL East is just insane. And then we got we got like 7 games left with the Pirates. Pumped about those. Got another series against the Reds, which will be tough. But play the White Sox again. Pumped about that. The White Sox suck. Oh, let's get to that actually, if you're okay with moving on from my Cubs.
I would love to.
Which I think you're okay with that. Tim Anderson, and Jose Ramirez. So Tim Anderson, if you haven't seen it by now, Tim Anderson slides into second, or no, Jose Ramirez slides into second. Tim Anderson was mad about it for some reason, and Jose Ramirez was yelling at him. I don't know what the issue was.
I want to know what was said, because the slide itself was not that bad to warrant the fight that happened.
Yeah, it wasn't a dirty slide by any means. It's not like it was like a Chase Utley slide. Because who was that? Was that Troy Tulowitzki or Corey Seager or something that he just tore up that guy?
Oh, I don't know. But I have a faint memory of that, but I don't know exactly who was who.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
I remember. Yeah.
Tim Anderson just got rocked. And bench was cleared. He was
Ruben Tejada, by the way. Ruben Tejada.
Yeah, he was walking off the field, and his teammates were more holding him back than they were holding him upright. But then it turned from holding him back to holding him upright, because he was walking off the field into the dugout and was falling over and couldn't walk pretty much. So I think it was a nasty right hook from Jose Ramirez.
That was hilarious. I've never. Obviously, there's baseball fights. There's always a couple every summer where maybe there's a little pushing and shoving, maybe a punch thrown, a couple punches thrown is usually the extent of it. Sometimes you get. Oh, I always think it's hilarious when the bullpens run all the way out, and then
I love it.
By the time they get there, the fight's over, and then they just gotta walk all the way back. But this time, Tim Anderson just squares up with them.
I love seeing that. They both put the hands up, and they were both ready. It was you want to fight, I want to fight, let's fight. It was.
Let's have an actual fight. And then
Tim Anderson drop the gloves, let's go.
Squares up, and then Jose Ramirez is well, I'm not a bitch. I'll stand up. Then Tim Anderson's just flying around, and then Jose Ramirez is flying around too, but at least he connected with one and just rocked Tim Anderson in the jaw. And did you hear the Cleveland Guardians radio call?
I did not, but I would love to hear it.
The guy goes he just turned from baseball announcer to boxing announcer so perfectly, and did the famous "Down Goes Frazier" from Muhammad Ali and something Frazier. Can't remember the guy's first name. I think it was the Thrilla in Manila.
College basketball podcast.
Yeah. But he's oh, and Ramirez connects with the right hook, and down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson. I'm just that was hilarious. And then Tony Francona in the press conference going it's not funny, but you can't help but chuckle a little bit. And then says something else, and he's boys will be boys.
Terry Francona.
What did I say?
Tony,
my bad.
College basketball podcast.
Terry Francona.
If you're all good on this whole fight, speaking of baseball announcers, the Orioles announcer being suspended.
Kevin Brown.
Was 15 something? I don't know.
It's not public. It's just
I thought I saw a number. I could be wrong. But yeah, he basically said that he said what was a fact, and the Orioles were not good from 2017 to 2021, and basically said how the record against, I don't know what team it was,
the Rays,
was not good, which is a fact. And
they won
They're
They
good
won
now.
3 games against, it was at Tropicana Field. They won 3 games from 2021 or 2020 through 2022. They're like 3-22. They're like 0-15-1 in their last 16 series at Tropicana Field. And then they were like 3-2 at Tropicana Field this year. And he's like, yeah, they've won as many games this year at Tropicana Field as they had the last 5, which I feel like that's not even like talking bad about the
No,
Orioles.
it's
That's
just
like
saying how
that's
how
like
much the organization has improved since the last time.
it's like, hey, we used to be really bad and the Rays were
Hmm.
really good, and now we like
We're both good again, and we're
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 both
putting
good.
up fights. And I think it's ridiculous that they suspended him for that.
It just
It makes absolutely no sense to me.
um it's just like the Orioles owner. Uh, I didn't know much about him until like I kind of like 2 weeks ago, uh, when the whole deadline thing was happening, and I was like hoping that the Orioles were gonna buy, and I was like reading articles about it, and everyone was talking about how the Orioles owner just like refuses to buy every year that they're good, and it's just like he refuses to buy when they're good, but when they're bad, like he'll sell everything. Like last year when they traded Trey Mancini, when they were like making a run at it, like they probably weren't going to make the playoffs last year, but
They had
they
a shot.
they got hot in June and July and had a shot at sneaking into the wild card, and then instead of like what anyone else would do, like at least stand pat and like see if you can sneak into the playoffs. But he decides to sell Mancini and he's just like apparently like he's just in love with prospects, and like he's just like I
So
can
am
take
I now as a Cardinals fan.
like I can take this guy that has proven production at the MLB level, or I can trade him for 3 guys that could be better than him, but could also never even touch the
He's
major
a
leagues.
gambler.
Exactly, but yeah, apparently the Orioles owner has been just like a pain for a long time, and this is no different. He's just like very soft and doesn't want anything bad ever said about the Orioles, even by his own broadcast announcer, which is why he suspended him for. And like they did a good job of covering it up because apparently the clip was from like July 28th or something like that. So it's been like a week and a half, something like
Hmm.
that, uh, since they even uh, like since people realized because he was like did like a couple games of radio for some reason because like the radio announcer was out for some reason and then hasn't done the TV or the radio the last like series or two. And then people kind of started to catch on like what's going on, and then somehow it got leaked that I can't remember what the Orioles owner is, but that he was upset about what Kevin Brown said, and it was just like, dude, you sucked, and now you're
Hmm.
good. Like, be happy about
You were
that.
bad.
Now you're first
And he
place.
wasn't saying it just like negatively.
Yeah, he was like promoting that, like, hey, the Orioles are good now. Like,
Yeah, like we have come a long way.
yeah, now it's like
And then you get suspended
they
for it.
are in first place in one of historically the toughest divisions of all time with this AL East this year. Like every team's above 500. Uh, the Rays are one of the best teams in baseball. The Orioles are now in first place, so like you have to say, like you can't argue that they're not one of the best teams in baseball if they're leading the toughest division.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
kind of wild.
Um, there was something other baseball that I was thinking about, but I can't remember what it was. So we can just move on. If you have anything else, baseball.
I don't know.
I don't either. I think it actually was the Orioles thing, and I just didn't write it down. And now that you said it, so I'm like thinking that I got something that I didn't write down, but I don't know. My brain's weird today. Brain's weird today. But any other news and notes that we got to get to?
I just got a couple other sports news things that are happening in the sports world that just rattle them off and go from there. A couple golf things. John Rahm and Rory McIlroy are officially the 1-2 guys for Team Europe. not much of a surprise there. Justin Thomas misses the FedEx Cup playoffs by a couple points or something like that.
Yeah, I think he finished at like 71st or something like that.
Which I like Justin Thomas, and I've had this theory for a while, but like, when are we gonna hold Justin Thomas accountable? Because like, it seems every single major he just misses the cut.
I was gonna say, has he won a major?
Yeah, he won the PGA, I believe.
Yeah. But yeah, he had a terrible year this year.
Like, I feel like I would make a lot of money if I just take Justin Thomas to miss the cut, and especially majors, but just golf tournaments in general. Like, I like Justin Thomas, but like, hey, maybe this is just me being a media guy, but like, when are we gonna hold Justin Thomas accountable for him
And like
supposedly being one of the best players in the world, but doesn't
he
ever play like it?
he's been a big Ryder Cup guy the last couple of years. And I think if you're Zach Johnson, like the big debate right now is
DeChambeau.
JT or DeChambeau. And like as much as I hate Bryson DeChambeau, and as much as I love JT,
He shot a 58.
live doesn't count.
I know.
Uh, as much as I hate DeChambeau and love JT, I think if you're Zach Johnson, the captain of the Ryder Cup, I don't see how you can take JT. Like I don't think you can do it right now. He's just not playing good. Like I get Ryder Cup's a whole different thing, and I think that experience in the Ryder Cup means a lot because like it's a completely different atmosphere, especially playing on the road. I believe it's in Italy this year. Uh, so you're on the road, going to Europe for it. It's always a rowdy crowd, and just like one of the complete different tournaments and events in the world. I think it's one of the coolest events in the world. Uh, and so it's nice to have that experience that JT's had. I think he's been to like 3 or 4, maybe even now, at least 2 or 3. But uh, I don't think you can play him. Like I don't think you can pick him over DeChambeau the way DeChambeau's played this year. Uh, but it'll be interesting to see what Zach Johnson does if he kind of sticks with getting some Team USA guys that have been around for a while. I think am I confusing DeChambeau with Patrick Reed? I know Patrick Reed's been on a couple. I can't remember if DeChambeau's played in any.
I know Patrick Reed has. I don't know if DeChambeau has. But it would be really weird to see Bryson DeChambeau on the Team USA for the Ryder Cup.
I think he did. I'm gonna look it up now. But I just like I don't think he just doesn't fit it as well. Um, yeah, he was in the 2021 Ryder Cup, so he has done it before. But I don't know. And also, Zach Johnson's a PGA guy. I think Koepka might make it as a captain's pick or as a qualifier, um, potentially from winning.
I hope he does.
Like I think Koepka still works, but I don't think he's gonna like. I would be surprised if he takes 2 live guys. Like I think Koepka he might even take if he doesn't finish, even if he doesn't finish in the top 6, of whatever, like however they do the rankings for that. I think he still might take Koepka, but I don't know. I know DeChambeau's played in it once before, but he's just a weird fit. I feel like a lot of those guys just don't like him, and I think the Ryder Cup team chemistry is actually like a very big deal.
Oh, absolutely. Which
especially
is like maybe why JT would fit into that, even though he's not playing his best golf.
Yeah, because like Spieth's gonna play in it for sure. Like I guarantee Zach Johnson picks Spieth. I bet he's gonna pick Ricky. What is it? The standings of this? Yeah, I just like I don't know if DeChambeau really fits. I'm pulling up the U.S. team rankings right now. So Scotty Scheffler has officially qualified for it. So they take the top 6. In like it's a based on like how they do in tournaments or something like that over the year. So Scotty Scheffler's already qualified for it. Wyndham Clark, winner of the U.S. Open, has already qualified for it. Brian Harmon is in third. He hasn't technically qualified for it yet, but he's in the 3 spot right now, so he will likely make it. Koepka's in the 4 spot. He has a little bit of a cushion. Max Homa, your boy, is in 7th right now.
Get Max Homa the Ryder Cup.
And then Schauffele and Cantlay are 5 and 6.
If we put Patrick Cantlay on the Ryder Cup team, we will lose. That's just a fact.
I think if Homa does better than Cantlay in the what's it called, FedEx Cup, he should be able to jump Cantlay. He might even be able to jump Schauffele and get to 5 and kind of guarantee it. And the thing that sucks for Brooks is that he can't gain points from the Live Tour, and he's not in the FedEx Cup because obviously he's on the Live Tour.
Yeah.
So he's kind of sitting there hoping that this PGA Championship win carries over enough that he can just sneak in maybe to that 6th spot or something. Then you got Cam Young's in 8th. Jordan Spieth is in 9th. I think he's an auto captain pick. Spieth is just a guy that's always at the Ryder Cup. Keegan Bradley's 10. Morikawa is 11. I think he probably will get picked because he's got experience there. Ricky's a guy who I feel like plays there a lot.
All-time Ryder Cup guy, Ricky Fowler.
JT is 14th somehow in Ryder Cup standings. I don't know how, but
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe he'll get picked. But yeah, and DeChambeau's all the way down at 50th. I don't know how they do these points, but
college basketball podcast.
We've had to say that a lot today.
Yep.
But
just a disclaimer.
But yeah, Ryder Cup's coming up soon. I think September 22nd is the first day. September 25th through October 1st at Marco Simone Golf and Country Club in Rome, Italy.
How about that?
So Ryder Cup's coming soon. I don't know. I think the team gets decided like right after the FedEx Cup playoffs are over. I think because then the top 6 will be like determined, and then I think Zach Johnson gets like maybe a week to decide his 6 captain picks. So should be getting that team soon. I think this is the first week of FedEx Cup playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And this is the FedEx tournament too, right? Because it goes the FedEx tournament, and then the BMW.
I think you're right.
College basketball podcast. I know the BMW's in the middle. The only reason I know that for a fact is it's the Wyndham Championship. No, that was this past weekend. Never mind. I know the what's it called? The BMW is second for sure because I was thinking about going to it because it's up in Olympia Fields. If I don't find this in 5 seconds, I'm not going to. The St. Jude Championship is first. And then, I don't know after that. It's an article, not just a thing that tells me. So I'm not going to read the article. But St. Jude Championship this week, then the BMW, then whatever they call is it called the Tour Championship maybe? Maybe it's just called that.
Out of my realm right now.
College basketball podcast.
Yeah.
Any more news and notes?
It's not necessarily news, I guess. It's kind of old news now, but Messi and Inter Miami are just electric to watch. It's so fun to watch him play in Miami. That's really all I have on that. Nothing too elaborate on it. Just Messi and Inter Miami are electric.
Yeah, I've seen some clips and it looks sick.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Not really too much in the sports world. But we are kind of getting out of those dog days a little bit. With baseball's heating up. We had Hard Knocks, football. We had the Hall of Fame game. So football is slowly coming back. I don't always like to say like when the Hall of Fame game and training camp starts that football is necessarily back. But
It's closer to
kind of
back.
back. I'm getting excited.
I'm so excited. Yeah. Do you want to get into shout-outs?
Yeah.
Because my shout-out was going to be Hard Knocks.
Okay. Well, yeah, go ahead.
It just, I watched it last night and I was just so excited. And I might rewatch it again because I kind of fell asleep towards the end of it. Also, I just like want to keep watching football. So I have two shout-outs from Hard Knocks itself. I have one sec. I gotta get this guy's name.
Vito.
Vito. Yeah.
Yep. Once you said name, I kind of figured out who it was.
I knew Vito. I was gonna shout out his last name, but I couldn't find it. Everyone, like, I tried to look it up on Twitter, and everyone just kept going Vito and not saying his last name. It's when I looked at. I was watching it last night when I was really tired, so I looked at it at first, and I thought it said Corleone, and I was like, this isn't The Godfather. But Vito, like Corey Teen or something like that, Coratino. Shout out him. He looked sick. Shout out Aaron Rodgers. He looks very happy right now.
Ooh.
I'm all in on the Aaron Rodgers. He looks so happy out in New York. You could tell that these last 15 years or whatever in Green Bay were really
The bad man is gone.
he looked like a little kid out there. The infectious smile.
Probably on drugs on the sidelines, but
Probably, but you know what? Good for Aaron Rodgers. I'm glad he's in a place where he's happy. So shout out Aaron Rodgers and shout out Vito.
good shout outs. I got two shout outs as well. My first shout out is shout out Dave Portnoy. Portnoy is back, El Presidente. He bought back Barstool Sports. So Portnoy is back.
For $0.
Shout out Portnoy.
A lot of non-competes and stuff in there as well, but for $0. So
$0. Yeah, shout out Portnoy. I'm glad that El Presidente is back.
Rest in peace, the Barstool Sportsbook, but because now that's gone because that's part of the non-compete. So Barstool Sportsbook is now going to be ESPN Bet. But I'm glad that Barstool, like, I really liked Barstool in, like, pre-Penn. Like, post-Penn, it was good. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed Part of My Take. I enjoyed the Chicago guys. But, like, The Office itself was not, like, as funny and stuff as, like, pre-Penn days when they were just, like, able to do whatever they want. And now they're back to being able to do that. So I'm excited for the rest of Barstool Sports to be a little bit funnier, as well as I'm excited to see Stu Feiner without Penn Entertainment or Penn Gambling.
Ready to roll.
I'm excited to see him this year on Sports Advisors without anything restraining him.
I was about to say that too. With football being back, is Barstool Sports Advisor is on its way back.
I'm very excited for that. That's
And
always
Barstool as a whole is like, because you have all the guys moving to Chicago, so it's kind of getting shaken up right now, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Yeah, my last shout out is there was a Netflix documentary on Johnny Manziel. I have not watched it yet, but I did see the clip of the coach. It might have been his offensive coordinator or something, the quarterback coach. I don't know exactly who it was, but it said that Johnny Football, he racked up 0 hours of watching film, reading the playbook, anything. And this is not like a metaphorical, he really didn't do anything. No, he had 0 hours because they could track it. Like, it was on an iPad, they could track it, and he had 0 hours of studying the playbook. All-time football guy move. He's just there to play football.
He's not there to watch film. I did watch it yesterday afternoon.
I need to watch it.
Very good. There's some funny things in there. Some funny stories of him. That was one of the funnier ones. And then they like panned it, like it's Cliff Kingsbury. Or no, it wasn't Cliff Kingsbury, because he was his OC at A&M. It was. I can't remember who it was. I think it was his OC at Cleveland, And he's like, yeah, just 0 hours. And then they switch cameras to Johnny Manziel, and it's just him going like this.
Yeah, they go, how many hours did you have on the playbook? And he just puts up the 0. Doesn't say a word.
Yeah. I have one more shout out. Shout out Lil Tay. Rest in peace. Did you see that?
I did not know.
Lil Tay died today or yesterday or something. Do you remember Lil Tay?
Yeah. Wait, Lil Tay died?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so rest in peace, Lil Tay.
Rest in peace, Lil Tay. Wow.
Gone but not forgotten. She was the girl that it was like in the Jake Paul era.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I had to look her up, but I do know what you're talking about.
I was trying to think about like what she would say and stuff, but like, so
Wow, that's sad.
yeah.
Rest in peace, Lil Tay.
Uh, uh, can you see and hear me?
I can.
Okay, we might have had a back-to-back week problem. My mom just called me, and I was wondering if it messed up my
I know
computer.
before we recorded, I had to go on my computer and change my notifications for like calls, FaceTimes, turn them off.
Oh, I might have to do that. Uh, but we made it through this time. But yeah, rest in peace, Lil Tay. Shout out Hard Knocks. Shout out Vito. Shout out Aaron Rodgers. I think that's all I got. You got anything?
So I got too, yeah.
All right. Inching closer and closer and closer to football season being back. So we're excited about that because one of my favorite parts about football season being back is that it means basketball season's even closer.
Just that much closer.
So we're getting close. A lot of teams on some foreign tours right now. Illinois won by 40 today against the Valencia All-Stars. So
It's a good win.
good win. Oh, actually, we do have some college basketball to talk about. Kansas lost to the Bohemian national team, and
Did they actually?
I loved seeing it. One, because like everyone on Twitter was freaking out about it, and it's like, all right, they played against like Buddy Hield. There's like a couple other NBA players on the team, and like everyone, like when they see these teams on foreign tours, they're like, oh, these guys should win by 30 plus minimum because most teams do play like Illinois played like the Madrid All Stars and the Valencia All Stars, which like it sounds good, but it's like the Madrid All Stars is like all these guys from Madrid who are not good enough to be on like Real Madrid, like the basketball team that like Luka Doncic played for. Uh, like they're playing against scrubs who have day jobs. Like they aren't basketball players; they're guys who play basketball. So they win all these games by 30, and everyone like. Then you got the fans of the team that wins by 30 are like freaking out. They're like, "Oh, we might win the Natty this year," and then if someone loses to them, every other fans of every other team are like, "Oh, wow, they're terrible," because like these guys suck. And then Kansas actually plays like the Bohemian national team, who's like actually very good and like has NBA players on it, and then loses, and then everyone starts freaking out about Kansas, and it's like, all right, like they actually are the one team who played basketball players.
Yeah.
I just
I did
remember,
not hear that news though.
yeah,
That's
they lost
interesting.
by like
I think
five or
that might
six.
knock Kansas a couple of rankings down to my preseason A people.
Yeah. But yeah, so Buddy Hield for sure played. I know DeAndre Ayton was about to play and then got held out for some reason. But if DeAndre Ayton would have played, then they would have lost by like 20, and DeAndre Ayton would have given Hunter Dickinson like 35 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Definitely.
that box score was like never released, and we just found out that Kansas lost to the Bohemian All Stars by 40. That would have been hilarious, but
Oh, awesome.
but yeah, all right. I think that's the show now.
That's the show.
All right, but yeah, football season's coming close. Basketball season's coming close. Uh, so we're coming up with some new content ideas and stuff, and hopefully we'll get those all figured out. But till next time, appreciate you guys listening.